Okay, I want to say hello again, everybody. It's me, Wushu Richard. In this video, I want to talk about violence again, okay? And I have no power to control people. I have no power or magic that I can make people change their minds. But in this video, I'm going to talk about violence again, very briefly, right? Violence is wrong. Now, people may want to argue in life about morality. Well, who's wrong? Who's right? Where's the real justice? Where's the moral? Where do you get your morals? Who has the right to say whoever's right or wrong? And then you get the same thing where it's like everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but then as soon as somebody says, well, okay, so I don't agree with that, immediately the other side will see that as an attack, and and therefore make that an excuse for them to be a certain way. Now, in the past, in history, there have been old sayings such as "sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me." And there's also another well-known one which goes, two wrongs don't make a right. Now, all I want to say is this: negativity in the world, okay, attacks in any form, okay, physical attacks like trying to fight somebody, trying to hurt somebody physically, or verbally, as in just being aggressive towards anyone, even having hateful, angry feelings towards someone. Now, we can understand that you may have your own personal choice in life, you may have your own personal strong beliefs about things, like you don't agree with this, or you don't like that, what someone else thinks, or how someone else is living. I'm the same, I've got my own things that I don't like too, about certain ways that people live. But at the end of the day, all people are entitled to live how they do. Well, it's not even about entitled. When you start saying such things like entitled to this or that, what I'm trying to say is all human beings are the same. There is no, one human being is better than you because they've got more money and all that. And you may have heard that been said by many people in the past. But you've got to remember, it was made by human beings. Money is just a way to keep people in control, the same way as laws are or anything. We make these ideas up. It could be anything, a new plan for a new education system or a new kind of qualification. The new thing is you need to have this permit for this or this qualification for that. And things are made. They really are. You could go back right back to the days of old, the old ancient times. And there weren't like universities and stuff like that around. There weren't many of the laws that we have in this day and age. There weren't the technology that we've got nowadays either. But what I'm trying to say is everything we make, everything, okay, from our language to our technology to everything, our studying of science, our studying of whatever, it's the society, travel, everything, it's all there as tools to help us. Now, you can't be on one side trying to make a society, but at the same time making it so complex that people are against each other all the time, just fighting. It's like, I remember they said this in The Matrix, didn't they? Was it the problem is choice and things like that? It's like you're given a choice. Yes or no, what one do you take? White or black, red or yellow, blue or green, whatever. And it's like, okay, here are your options, which one do you choose? And then they try and confuse you, and then you're trying to work out, and your mind's stuck within in a mind frame. And when you've got young kids who are being brought up in all kinds of invisible controls, even to the adults themselves, but it's like they've been brought up and conditioned, maybe not purposely done, but I'm saying by adults who won't clear their mind and just stop following everybody else and just think for a moment and try to be more human. These kids grow up the same way. And if you look at the society on the whole, if you look at the amount of progress we're making in terms of technology and all of that, but then you look at all the other negative side. I mean, you're always going to have positive and negative in life, but when you look at the amount of violence going on in the world, and you see a lot of a rise in violence among youths too, and crime and things like that, and how a lot of people are getting dumbed down now and losing their human side. They've got the technology and everything, but you know, I see a lot of people becoming so much more simple, and they're more quick to, and they're more greedy. The greed's growing, the selfishness, and the actual, because they're becoming less in tune with human emotions and less. It's like there's so much in a rush, and it's all about survival, you know. And it's like they could not give a damn about another human being. I mean, I've seen so many fighting videos online recently on YouTube when it comes to violence, okay? The amount of violent videos. Now, you might say, well, fair enough, that's because I've seen it. It's like if you walk down 10 streets in a particular part of the world and each one of those streets is dirty and covered in rubbish, then you would probably say that country is a dirty country. But, you know, that's just because where you've been. If you spend a lot of time with, you know, let's say for me, for example, I'm from England. I come from England. You know, you learn to stereotype. You know what I mean? You may like go to an English person's home, and judging by what that family's like, you may start to think that all people are like that. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing again, or you know what I mean? You experience something so many times, you start to blame the world for the proof you've actually seen and experienced, but you are the proof itself. It's like, at the end of the day, you've got to be better. You can't change the world, but it's like you've got to be better, and that's all it is. Your opinions, you know, and things like that, and you're like a mirror of the world, and the world's a mirror of you. It's like your attitude does affect things, and even if you don't see any way to you know, affect something the way you want it to, the most important thing is you have to be positive in yourself. Now, I'm just saying this again, alright? I've seen some disgusting videos recently on YouTube, and I'm saying it again, and this is a message that can't be ranted about enough, you know, or mentioned enough. You've got to stop seeing yourself as the victim, all people. That's how I feel. I believe where does violence come from? You don't simply say, all right, stop the violence, stop hating, stop fighting, stop stealing, stop drinking, stop taking drugs, stop smoking, stop doing all those stupid things, stupidity and retarded things, stop beating people up, stop. You don't go out and say that to someone because they just don't get it. Because when you say that's wrong, to them it's a way out, and it's an escape, the people that do this stuff. For some people, self-harm is, suicide is, crime is, just literally the whole life. Some people are in prison and they don't care. It's literally they accept what it is. Human beings are quite strong actually. They're conditioned to so much, and they're able to become conditioned, and they become what it is. And sad, I don't want to say they're easy to give in, but human beings are very easy to be submissive, I feel, to their own weakness. You know what I mean? It's like, but what I'm trying to say is, you don't say things like that. It's not a game of, you know, oh, don't go around stealing because you might end up in prison, or don't go out, you know, killing people because you might end up in prison. It's not only that. These are the human laws. What I'm trying to say is, societies and whatever's running, you know, the government or the societies that are running nations in the world, the higher powers that are controlling, and, you know, there's some people who are rich, there's some people who are in poverty and all that. But it's like, yeah, there's stuff like that. But what I'm trying to say is, you've got to learn to control yourself, and ultimately look for the good and the free things in life. It makes me tired talking about it, so I'll shut up. But I believe there's too much violence in the world and too much stupidity, and you've got to look ultimately at what it is. When you're born as a baby, you might say, well, this is all I've known, man. You know, I've grown up in such an environment. my whole family was in prison, you know, my family was on drugs, whatever you want to say, you know, you've been living in the ghettos all your life, or all you've seen is death, all you've had is this and that. You was beaten as a kid, you were abused, you were whatever it might have been, you know, and you've lived in such a hardship, you've had to learn to become a certain way to survive. Whatever, I'm not saying you haven't. If you were living in a jungle, if you were living in a forest or a jungle, you'd have to adapt and survive. But what I'm trying to say is, are you really adapting? Are you or not? A newborn baby, right? You know what I'm saying? Every human being has their own mind, that they can make choices, is what I'm trying to say. Fine, yeah, it might be based on what you know around you, from growing up in or living in your living standards. I'm saying the sanity is the most important thing. Everyone knows, right? If someone was to punch you in the face, it would hurt, right? If you were to touch hot metal, you'd burn your skin. You know the feeling of pain, right? A lot of people have emotions, right? Some people might cry when they see their mother's tears, but then you might, you know what I mean? You might cry when someone else, your gang member or your friend or someone ends up getting himself shot, getting into a gunfight with someone. It could be anything, right? But what I'm saying, people can connect. They've got emotions in some way or another as a human thing. If you clicked your fingers and suddenly you was literally alone in the world and there was no other human beings around, and if it was only you in the world, what kind of a life would that be? What are you going to do? You're going to, you can survive, well done. But some people, that they need that. I mean, most people need that connection with other human beings. And just the very fact that we have these societies and civilization, the very fact that we help each other to survive, basically. The farmers, the doctors, all that. Okay. That's what I'm trying to say. All areas of life. So, as I said before, it's the greed, You got to look at what you really need in your life. When you're born as a young baby or just born in a hospital, you're just wrapped up in a blanket or whatever, right? You're comfortable, that's all you need. You don't need, because you're older now, because you're growing up in your age, you don't need to be taking drugs, drinking alcohol and toxic bullshit and smoking and all this crap or wearing certain clothes, fabric, just material. I'm wearing this fucking poxy t-shirt here. But at the end of the day, I don't give a damn. It doesn't have to be, because that's brainwashing garbage. That's what, just, you've got to be the same way as other people. Because if they don't accept you, you're not worth anything. It's like, back when I was in school, in primary school, when I was younger, and secondary school, and then the kids used to always be like, always looking at the clothes and the fashion. Even to nowadays, even people do that. And they're like, you're wearing those cheap shit, trainers, man, or shoes, sneakers, trainers. And it's like, damn, you should get the best Adidas or Nike or whatever it was, Reebok, back then, let's see, whatever the fuck it was, name brand, and they'll put you down for wearing this shit, and you're not, that's not the real deal, man. Oh man, you want Calvin Klein, man. You want Levi jeans. You don't want that stuff from the cheap shop down the road. The kids used to bully the kids because of this. That's all been indoctrinated. They've been brainwashed to that. If you were living in excuse my language, but if you were living in a frozen cold, in a snowy environment in Siberia or somewhere in the world, or the Antarctic, or if you were living anywhere where it's like in a really cold climate, you'd be grateful to have some warm clothes, any kind of material wrapped around you, believe me. Right? They say, well, yeah, but you don't want to look like a bum, and all this fancy stuff, hairstyles and whatever it is in this day and age. They're just doing it to look good. They wear certain things to look good. They speak a certain way to look good. Look in a way that they'll be accepted by others. Now, most people care about being accepted by others. And you might say, well, don't you, Richard? It's like, I don't want to be accepted by people that are deranged. You could be put into a mental hospital and then have all those people clapping you, all these mental, crazy mental patients, sorry, you know, and they'll agree with you and support you. But these people, they're not right, are they? So you're telling me people on the outside, people that I've seen people, I've known people, I've worked with a lot of people in my life that have been all right face to face, but on the outside, I've seen them on the street, rough, trying to get into fights and stuff. There's people who've smoked and drunk too much alcohol, smoked, taken drugs. People that have got into fights, people that have had all kinds of scars on their face and body, obviously from knife stabbings and stuff. People that go out clubbing and doing all whatever else, and they've got a very different lifestyle. And they're like tough in themselves, and they're proud of what it is. They've got tattoos all over, fair enough. They're entitled to whatever style and any kind of lifestyle they want as well. It's not for me to intervene and say this or that. And I'd be a fool to feel bad about them putting me down for being called a wimp and quiet and living a different life to them. That's how they want to think. But I've learned maturity in growing up in my life. There's some people that carry on like that for the rest of their life, or they end up in prison or dead or in the hospital or with health problems, or passing that on to their kids, or not being a good kid, not being a good parent, you know, being abusive to everybody else, and most importantly themselves. If you keep chucking shit, it's like throwing stones in a glass house, the same thing, you know. It's like if you're chucking shit all around your house, you're going to end up living in that shit unless you clean it up, and you might even die with the stink. And you become that. It's like you are what you eat. Yeah, so you buy into all this. They're eating off you like cannibals, but you're buying into it. You're helping them to eat you. The cannibals of society, I'm saying. It's like anything. You follow in a group of people. Like, who the hell are you following? At the end of the day, you might be inspired by people that have done good things, and that might be that. But at the same time, you're still inspiring yourself. You're following yourself. Whenever you follow someone, you're following yourself. You're following your own vision of what you think is right, or is an escape from the pain you're in now, or stepping towards something better. You know, the father says fuck the police. You know, the young kid 4 years old also says fuck the police. Yeah, and that's okay. I've seen videos on YouTube where it's like, I've seen videos on YouTube on school buses and stuff where there's young kids, and they've got these compilations of kids fights as well as adults. But you see like school buses and stuff where kids are beating up other kids, and it's like, yeah, and the kids are young kids, you know, and they're filming it up on their phones, you know, and they're like modern technology, and these little, such, you know, young kids, and they're just like so simple, and they're like, yeah, upload it on Facebook, upload it on YouTube, yeah, beat him up, make him cry, make her cry. And it's like violence, 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 and you see these fights and these, some of this stuff's just terrible. It's people getting bloodied up, beaten faces. They don't think twice about just, they don't even feel sickened by that blood like coming out of someone's face, punching the hill. Oh, you're leaking, man. You got knocked the fuck out. You know, what's it, World Star and all this. I know, like, I can understand. It's like, you might say it's entertaining. For me, I'm not sick in the head to say it's entertaining. If it's some idiot running their mouth, some thug or someone trying to rob someone, or someone trying to take advantage of someone who they seem as weak, it could be a woman or a kid or an elderly person, or when you just see a bully of any kind who's trying to take liberties or that, or rob someone or hurt someone, of course, when that vengeance is struck, when someone turns around and fights back, and that, of course, it's like, yeah, the entertainment's there. Don't say I'm the sadistic one now, because we all watch movies and it's the same thing. You might say real or not, but what I'm trying to say is I don't support violence in any kind. So I like martial arts and all that, but I don't like sport and competition fighting like MMA and all that. I don't support wars. In a big degree, I don't support any kind of violence, including any weapons like guns or anything. It's not that I don't think it's a good tool, and I don't think it could be interesting like to do shooting training, let's say, but I don't support any kind of violence is what I'm trying to say. So what I'm trying to say is, when you see these videos online of people just laying, spazzing out on the floor where someone's been punched, KO'd, knocked out, there's blood leaking from the back of the head, and they're just all people standing around on their phones filming it up and uploading this stuff to get views. It's like, they've got no value for human life. That's been installed from one generation to the next, and it's like, how the hell are you going to, you know, have a society like that, you know? So, you know, I want to say it again, and I'll probably mention it again, you know, it's not really a waste of time, is it? It is in a way, but the message has got to get out there. I mean, at the end of the day, there's two kinds of violence, I feel. Okay, they could be linked, and it could be the same thing in some ways, but I think there are two kinds, though, two kinds of um, grounds, or two kinds of what do you call it? Cause and effect. Yeah. So the causes or roots to violence and violent acts and living a violent way of life. And when I say violent, I mean in every single way. I mean in violence in terms of the physical, real violence, and then also violence in terms of like the attitude people have got, where they're always like after people, always like looking down, trying to talk people down and things like that. Okay, so there's two kinds of violence-ness. Okay, I've seen the word such. Okay, one kind is the kind where people are trying to find an escape, or they see it as an answer to something, even if they started out knowing what was right and wrong, but inside they've had some kind of pressure in their life, or this or that, and they're taking a path for a reason as such, where it's like they've got to fit in with the gang, they've got to fit in with everybody else, or they've got to make everybody happy because they don't want to become the victim, so they have to join in with the forces of, to choose the dark side as such, Star Wars, or it's like they think it's an escape, or they've got to prove a point, or they've got to live this way because there's no other way, or they've got so much hatred in them about whatever, they've just given up on life. There's like a mental side of it where they decide for a reason. Now those things can be worked on to like turn them away from that kind of a life. But then the other kind, there's the other kind of a violence I see is the ones where, no offence, not in a funny way, but not in a rude way, but saying that there's people in the world who've been brought up in such an environment, it might not even be their fault to that much of a degree, although I do believe everybody has their own power to make choices, and as a human being, how can you not understand that? Isn't that what I'm saying, right? But young kids who've been brought up in a violent area, or in a violent family setting, household, then school or whatever, and then the area they're living in, and the place, and then what happens is it's all fun and games, and it's part of life, and it isn't. They can't even separate the difference between the same as right and wrong. They can't see that this is a violent way of life. If someone turns around and tells them it's like you going into a forest and telling a tribe of whoever, a tribe of some kind, or telling a wild animal, hey man, you're really violent, They don't know any difference. It's like, where's the fine line? Where do you So to them, beating someone's head with a stone and with a smile on their face is just the everyday norm. They see it every day. People are acting that way anyway. So they get a kick out of it, and then when they walk into another part of town or whatever, and in the world, they're going around in a more civilized part of the world, and they go around and start committing crazy acts, which to them are just normal. They don't think I'm going to cause a violent act. They don't think it that way. They just go and attack someone, punch someone, and not think it. Just hit an old person. If they die, they die. Kind of Rocky IV attitude with Ivan Drago. Push someone down the stairs, chuck a rock at some old person or whatever it might be. And to them, it's just like, well, fuck you. If they're angry, they'll do that. Or if they're just doing it for kicks and having a laugh, they'll do that. It's just very normal to them. So this is very dangerous, though. So when we talk about morality, about who gets the morals from where, who says wrong or right, who's wrong or right, it's not about that. It's saying, as a human being, you've got to protect yourself, right? So you're not gonna. That's why we have laws and things. That's what I'm saying. It's like certain laws. There's certain laws and stuff we can disagree on and things like that, and not agree with. But it's like a lot of laws. The basic society, it should be there to protect the people. So if people are going around, trying to hurt people and kill people, obviously it's dangerous, isn't it? It's just not right. So there's no. When you start to say, oh well, yeah, but why did he do it? Yeah, but this and that. But it doesn't matter who attacked who first, and then this or that. What it matters is the idea of violence has just got to be eradicated, is my point. The whole fucking idea of violence has got to be eradicated, right? So anything that starts off in the mind or verbally Okay, if someone hates you, or someone's got their own opinion about you, or don't like the way you paint pictures, or don't like the way you cook food, or whatever it is, or doesn't agree with you about anything, when you see that, if that triggers you to then violently attack someone, you've got a problem. But again, if that also, them being verbal, or even in the slightest, if that triggers you to then go back and feel, well, you've got to stand up for yourself, you've got to argue back. If they're allowed to say that to me, I've also got the right to stand up. Then again, you're in a defensive, but you're also being attacking in that when you're becoming violent. So that person's wrong first and foremost. They should have stopped first, yes. So you know what I'm trying to say? So that's it. But it's like, you can't always win fights by fighting. So I'm trying to say, it breeds more violence. Two wrongs don't make a right. It's the same thing. So it's like, you've got to learn to be better than any violence, and that's what every single individual has to do in the world. That's what I believe, to be less violent than anybody else, including people that go around, like when you walk into wherever you I don't know where you work, in a bank or an office or wherever you work, and you feel like every day, maybe you feel this way, maybe you don't, that there's a lot of people in here who are fake, like your work colleagues who are a little bit, they've got their own way of thinking and that, and they're like, they're judging people and they're thinking this of you and that of you, or they're going to speak a certain way. They're keeping all their real self inside, of course, they've got to be careful. And then it's like, you tell yourself, you know what, I'm not going to be like that today. I'm going to just be normal today. And even if people end up mocking me and that or this or that, and they think, you're so honest, and you're just like a big kid because you just be so honest and that, you should ask yourself, what the hell have you got to lose? Now the big thing is, in this world, when you're honest and you're nice and you're friendly and just genuine, you're like a fool as such, a fool in this modern world. If you be honest like that, like an angel as such, kind of thing, then you say, well, what are you going to lose? You're going to lose a lot, because a lot of people disrespect people like that. People put you down, they try and take advantage. If you're smart, you won't be taken advantage of. If you've got nothing that's of value to them, there's nothing for them to take from you. You should be invisible, like a monk almost, as I've said, like an invisible, like I've said, I'll be like a monk, I'll be like a ninja, I'll be like something like the wind, I'll be like literally invisible. If you're invisible, you're invincible. You should not, when you be honest, it doesn't mean you're telling them your next move. But it doesn't mean your move is controlled by the other chess player, if you understand what I'm trying to say. The one who's not calm is not going to do a good job of anything. You see what I'm trying to say? He's so busy thinking about how he's going to defend against the opponent, or how he's going to win, or the level of this or that. And not only that, there's more opponents too, and you're in the centre of all this chaos. Now, how the heck, you're never going to step out of your house, because the world's a dangerous. You know what I'm trying to say? So if you're thinking about the living and hearing and feeling the ground underneath your feet and the breath in your lungs, so saying the food and what you like in the taste of food, and not worrying about when someone says, "Oh, you're poorer than me, man. I've got a massive, I've got a massive, what do you call it, mansion or whatever, and a new car," and you're there eating your simple meals, whatever you can at home, and you can't eat off the luxury whatever they have in the fancy restaurants every day. But you don't worry about that. See, that confuses you and you don't even know why. If you was going to those restaurants every day, you'd be paying that money like it's nothing. You see what I'm trying to say? Whereas now, you see what I'm saying, you don't have it, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, you see what I'm saying, it wouldn't be, you see what I'm trying to say, there's more good in life than the fake verbal crap that comes out of people's mouths. And wouldn't you like to live in a world where there's no fists coming straight at your face, or knives flying around, or bullets? You know what I'm trying to say? So it comes from the mind first. Insanity, okay, an erratic mind leads to an erratic anything, okay, in the physical world. So I would say, calm the fuck down. That's what I would say, the main point is you've got to understand what you want and what in terms just value life, value yourself first and foremost. And you'll start to see, when you're like less reliant on people, and you might say, well, you're not reliant on people, but what I'm saying is, when you're less reliant or dependent on people accepting you, or like people not being hateful towards you, when you learn to not bother about that and see that as a mental illness, that is literally mentally, because if you can control yourself, right, they should be able to, right? I mean, there's a possibility there, right? So when you learn this, you start to see that, what it truly is, basically, and you become more free. So that's what I'd say. So, but you know, put more time into being positive in what you have already, and then you'll be able to get more. And the same with your next generation, your kids, and trying to share, impart knowledge, you know, with them, to them. Because if you go on YouTube and you just type in on YouTube, you know, fights or violence or whatever it might be, rioting or whatever, you look at the amount of stuff, knockouts, knockout compilation or fight compilation and all this stuff, you know, abuse. Some of the stuff you look up online is just absolutely sickening. Some of the stuff that, I mean, just go into the filters as well and type in, go click on where it says this week or whatever, you know, or today, and you see the amount of stuff that comes up, right? So, you know, that's what I'm trying to say. You know, this is real, and it's just bloody ridiculous. What's ridiculous is not even, what's more ridiculous even than the acts themselves, which are the worst thing. But what's really ridiculous is the fact that people follow people more so. You know what I'm trying to say? Because you don't even know. People don't even have a damn clue. They don't see any value in life in themselves. They are literally a robot slave to whatever it is. They're going out protesting for this, for that. They don't even realise that they're all whatever party you're protesting for, or you want, you know, what team you subscribe to, whatever, is still part of that. It's like, and you say that's meaning in your life, otherwise you're nothing. But all these people are the same, they're empty shells. You know what I'm saying? What's the meaning of life? You know, most people, what do you think it is? Just that bloody iPhone in your hand, you know? That's what I'm saying. It's like people, you get no damn, or people that are hooked on some substance like heroin or whatever, taking their fucking brain. Literally, I don't know what the feeling is. I would never fucking do it, but I'm saying people, excuse my language, that do these stupid things. And it doesn't matter what you've done, or you've lived that for many years, and that's what you've always been, and it's harder. Even if you say it's hard and it's addictions and stuff, right now I believe you've got the mind that you can make a choice, or you know what's right or wrong. So ultimately, it don't matter what counselling you get, or what advice you get from Big Brother, Gangbanger, or whatever his name is, or whoever it is that you might listen to. Even when you listen to that, it's still you listening to yourself, because you're the one. You're either going to live or die, or live a life of suffering, and how old are you going to be able to live? How long what are you going to make in this world? You're just going to be like some stoned fucking zombie on the side of the pavement. Don't be surprised if somebody rolls over you on a skateboard, and probably one of these young kids who are filming it up today, getting into fights with people, skaters versus security guards, or whatever it is, they're filming up this day and age. And while someone else is stripping buck naked on the fucking subway and calling out for rights and saying this is what it is, this is what it's acceptable, you know, and it's just, the world's getting twisted up. So first of all, get yourself stable. You don't need any substance. It's not about substances. It's not about fashion brands. It's not about the activities of whoever else, or the attitudes of whoever else on your side or on the other, whoever else's side, opposite side. It's not about your friends. It's not about your enemies. It's not about your lovers, family, whoever's close. It's not about your race. I don't believe anyone you connect to in any way, shape, or form, beliefs. It's not about money. It's not about King Kong gorilla behind the bars at the zoo, you know, who just farted and the smell has affected your brain. No, it's about, or whoever's driving whatever car this fucking year, and you want to get the same one. It's not about that. It's not about that shit they're pumping at you on the advertisements and stuff, or on the tech and on the media and all that. It's not about anything else but you just closing your eyes. I mean, I don't even meditate, but people, when you talk about meditating, so really, if you just close your eyes and look into yourself and just say, no, forget everything else. Just think about a world where there's just literally trees and fucking, I'm not going hippie on you, I'm just saying, think about trees and waterfalls and all that, and animals like in nature, and then think about people, the way human beings are carrying on. Are you joking? You know what I mean? And the amount of road rage and abuse to kids and all this stupid crap, you know, you got to value people and you got to value yourself, and end of, that's what it's about. No matter, avoid, you know, idiots. You talk about, you know, dangerous places, or you talk about, you know, any mess in the world, it comes from you first. You've got to become the example. You've got to start doing right, or it will never happen. That's what it's all about. And share a message and communicate to whoever you can connect to in any way. I believe if you're humble and you're open-minded and you connect with people and you can be open-minded to all different kinds of people, they might not all follow you. You might not be able to change them straight away, but you'll be able to affect certain people to different levels on different ways. And if it's a positive thing, and if it's like not pushing ideas on people, but saying to them, just be more open-minded and acceptable of human life, and be more natural, to yourself. Stop giving yourself stress by connecting to whatever it is on the outside. Sometimes you give yourself stress by following something that you think is a good idea, or trying to make something be in the real world. But at the end of the day, all the negative you're receiving or you're accepting in your life is because you're putting it there. It's like someone's throwing punches at you into your face and you're just standing there. You can learn to move out the damn way. You're standing in the road, you get hit by a car, but you're still standing there and your legs kind of busted up. If you've got any energy to get out of the way, you better, because the next one might kill you. You know what I'm trying to say? So if you're in a hospital and you've been eating loads of shit, and greasy, fatty foods or whatever it is, or you've been on drugs or whatever, and you're in hospital and they're saying, well, you're lucky you survived, but you're going to need to slowly recover from this. And if you're still taking drugs while you're in the hospital or eating that same shit, then you're doing it to yourself. No matter how much you F the world this, F the world that, no matter how many hoodies you put up and a mask over and fuck everybody who's, this and that and protesting and whatever, none of that's going to help you at the end of the day, because all people grow old if they're lucky to be old, grow into their old age and then die. So all that stuff you've been ranting about and going on about, and like me too, here ranting, all this stuff is going to be gone. It's history. But at least it's worth it. At least something positive is what it's about. You should ask yourself, who really gives a damn about you? And if anyone did listen to you, would they be following, what I'm saying? Do they really understand? Not out of fear, but and how much do you really benefit from the world, from everybody else around you, all that? How much can you benefit from what you can do? You know what I'm saying? I'm going to stop this video. Cut the violence is what I'm going to say. I'll be talking about this more as well. I've seen terrible videos. It seems like animals are more sane than humans. I saw a couple of videos where there's been animals helping people and saving people's lives. There's other news stories last week, lots of news stories where people have been abusing animals and killing animals too and things like that. It's just disgusting. I saw another video earlier on. I've seen loads of stupid videos. Women getting assaulted by people. I seen another video where some disabled, I believe she was disabled, some woman had a brick thrown at her and she was like hurt badly. You don't do things like that, Same for young people, fix your life up. Don't get off the drugs, avoid that. You might not be able to change your families if your parents are on drugs and stuff and they're doing it all around the house, and it's a pity, but at the end of the day, you don't follow in the same fucking footsteps, and all this pride about, it's just your family and that. Right's right, wrong's wrong, at the end of the day. Following, because everybody on the estate's doing it, all your mates or whatever, or you don't want to get picked on at school. Now, don't follow idiots. End of. Don't follow idiots, That's what it's all about. You don't need to do that, I don't care if, whoever you've tried to connect with, be it your family members, your friends, your other teachers in the schools, or even police officers, whoever, all those people you might have tried to connect to, and every one of them has done you wrong, or they've sworn at you or put you down or whatever, and this and that, and seen you as nothing. There's no reason for you to become shit, because if you add, you're basically adding to what they are. You're just helping them to shit this world up on a physical or emotional, whatever level, to make this world a more shit place. And by that, you're basically saying, you're making it shitter for yourself. You're never going to escape, really. Doing things that are bad for your health and all that, really, just like a slow, not really an escape. And you always risk, why would you want to escape? You're pussy running from them. So I've got to say, be a wimp for them coward. They're cowards. The bullies are the coward. Again, taking drugs as well and things like that, or committing suicide. It's just, when you get there, you get nothing. They've won, haven't they? They won't think, they don't really get it, obviously, because they're shallow people that are trying to put you down. They won't be like, oh God, I've done the wrong thing. They might be a little bit, but they're still going to be able to get on with their lives and do all the things that you wish you could do. Fuck that, you could do more than them. Then you might not have the money now or this or that or the support now, but believe me, it comes from the mind. And you communicate with the right people, you'll be able to get, it's like stepping stones, you'll be able to get there eventually, get further. And and the world's a big place. There's more different places you could go to. There's different things you could see and do and connect to people. And technology's improving. It's becoming more and more available to people, like the internet and certain things. Even if you can get to a library or something, there's always a way. And what you have now might not be enough, like as in whatever, money, time, energy, health, friends, connections, knowledge. But you've got to use what you have to work on to get anywhere further. And it all starts with the health, and that starts with your sanity. So get your head straight. Don't keep hating people and putting people down, or fucking looking for an escape, or you'll save a bit of money so you can get some fucking heroin or some stupid shit, or just go speeding down the road on a motorbike with some gangbangers, and you end up getting knocked the fuck out by a truck or something. And that's the end of you. What did you get from that? It's a wheelie and bye bye. You might end up in a wheelie bin. You know what I'm trying to say? I mean, blood, say blood, right? Fucking see, right? Blood, yeah, say blood. Banging, man, gang, and all this. You just, it's shit, isn't it? You're slave to them all. Going around, live by the sword, die by the sword. People going around with guns and knives. You end up getting stabbed or shot yourself. You know, people might have abused you. People might have looked down on you, but it doesn't make them worth anything. If you spend your whole life as a warrior, not a warrior, hopefully, it's the same, a warrior is a warrior sometimes. It's like if you spend your whole life, you might want to be strong, but it's like sometimes you spend your whole life being a soldier or a samurai, whatever you're saying, a warrior. And it's like you're battling and fighting the whole life against people. And every time it's like, oh, I won, I come out of it. And then when you really get to the end of your life, however old you're going to be able to live to, if it's not a healthy way of living, then it's not going to, it might even live to an old age. But what it's going to be is you're going to look back on your life and you're going to be like, fucking hell. So, you might think you've been a warrior and that you might be satisfied. But let's think about it. You wasted all that time. You could have done other things. I'm not teaching you to run away and be a coward, but don't be a coward like those violent fuckers who are trying to fuck up life in general. They'll fall in their pit holes, believe me. And the more nothing there is, the more there's no target as such, and you've got to work that magic yourself. Work it out. There's a time to fight and defend yourself when you need to. But I'm saying, the more the nothingness there is, like that Tai Chi way, when there's a space, they can't grab onto you because you're not there. They can't see you because you're invisible. You're not giving them an argument to argue with. You seem like you have nothing. You don't give them what they want. You don't stand there like a target in the first place. You give it you'd be a million miles away from a fucking radioactive, toxic fucking nuclear plant. You get away from the shit. You don't stay in water infested with electric eels, sharks, and fucking zombified swamp monster, Sasquatch, fucking piranhas, do you? You get the fuck out of the water, right? You can live on the land. You don't live in the sky or in hell or bury yourself before your time or in the sea. You live as what you are in nature. Right? So that's what it basically is. You don't go around subscribing to them. Someone says this of you, well, he said this, well, fuck that, you're not going to embarrass me in front of everybody. So you're worried about your face, you're worried about what someone thinks about you, you're worried that someone's going to embarrass you in front of somebody else, so that everybody else around you going to put you down. It might even be people you care about, like your friends or your lovers. No, because if those people did care about you in the first place, they wouldn't put you down in the first place like that anyway. If you think that these friends around you, or these so-called people that you care, are so easily to be swiveled, their minds are so easily to be controlled by somebody else putting you down, so that they'll put you down too, then that means they're not real friends in the first place. So if I was you, if people don't value you, fuck them. That's what I'm like. If people don't like me or don't value me, fuck them, and I don't give a damn. I'm not going to try and control one person or this, that, to make sure everybody else is alright. At the end of the day, I don't have to. You know what I'm trying to say? Value your damn self. Self-respect's the most important thing. And avoid crap if you can. You know what I'm saying? And there will be people, there's people in the world who will subscribe or respect you for who you are and what you're doing and what you're all about, and they'll be positive people themselves. And you connect with those people. Leave the shit bags behind. They're all one to each other. They're all the damn same thing. They subscribe to the shit, they become the shit. You subscribe to the wise, you become the wise. You subscribe to the riches of life, you become the richer, become the more healthy. If you subscribe to the slums of drug addict, fucking poverty and shit and laziness and negativity, that's what you become. Subscribe to the darkness, you become blind. Subscribe to the light, you will see all that's available to be seen in the light. That's what I'm trying to say, for real, right? So before you talk about anything, the higher powers controlling whatever in society, be something worth. You can be something worth to society, but only until you're true to yourself and not be a coward and ashamed of yourself or who you are. Be positive in yourself. Don't be aggressive inside yourself. Don't be like violent when you don't need to be. Stay away from people that are violent. Stay away from places where people are schizoid. Don't put yourself in a mental asylum. You don't have to go into some fucking bar or something where you know there's dangerous people hanging about and drinking toxic shit into themselves and talking crap, getting into fights and arguments, and there's frequent stabbings and putting yourself in danger. Just avoid it. Let them drink themselves to death if that's what they want to do, or kill each other. I'm not saying allow that. You can help people out if you can. Try and advise them not to. This or that. But you don't put yourself in danger for others. Don't waste your whole life for others either. And don't waste a few minutes or seconds doing something, because you know what I'm saying. You could be doing something more, rather than travelling down to some fucking pub or bar with people drinking and this or that. You could stay in the comfort of your own home or do something else and plan something else out. Rather than subscribe to whatever situation you think you're in. You could look for something else elsewhere, something more productive. Find a hobby, find an interest, and just literally be off and away with you. That's what I say. Okay? Because otherwise it might be away with you. So find where you are, and then you'll be able to get anywhere. That's basically what it is. Okay? But if you don't, if you're looking for where the fuck am I in this world, when you shout, here I am, I'm fucking here, I'm the biggest badass in the world, I'll take anybody on. All you're going to have is a scarred body going to the grave in the end of it. That's all it's going to be, with all kinds of whatever's going to be wrong with it. Whatever's you've done to yourself in this life, and you're not going to get that time back. So all this violence has got to stop, as I'm saying. Violence towards yourself, violence towards others, violence towards kids, violence to anyone. Okay, men, women, anybody, okay? Elderly people, the law, the citizens, whoever. Don't be violent. Be normal. Thanks for watching.